How about now? Eddie, you got me. Sound on YouTube. It looks like it is coming through now. So sorry about that. Quick recap for YouTube. If you're listening, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe, all those things. All right. Glad the sound's working there now. Let's get right into it. Again, I don't want to take a ton of time to talk about NC State today, but again, if that's what people have on their minds, want to talk about, that's totally fine. I've done two videos, one podcast on NC State. Again, I know it's Monday morning, so it's always kind of a weird time of like, okay, do we keep talking about the old stuff? Do we move on to the new stuff? I'm pretty good with either, but I've already talked about NC State a ton. So you can go to the YouTube. I went on a 30-minute rant yesterday morning and blamed everybody on FSU sideline on Saturday night. And then I spent 20 minutes blaming the refs this morning. And I've got all the blame out of my system. It was very, I don't know what you call that. It was cathartic, I guess, to get that out of the way. But some injury thoughts, some injury updates, some depth chart stuff that's kind of come out today that I want to focus on. First thing that we'll talk about real quick is we do have a tailgate going this weekend. If you're going to be in Tallahassee for the Clemson game, I'll get that shared and get that up at the top of the space. I know that we like to wait till the last minute. I will say on this tailgate, a little different than others, space is somewhat limited. I will say we have plenty of tickets left right now. That could change. So I would say if you're planning on coming this weekend, do me a favor and get your tickets now. If you need anything or you have any questions, let me know. But I just threw that up in the top of the space. Again, we should be fine, but just in case, I want to get you guys taken care of. I want to be able to hang out this weekend. Some observations, some thoughts. We'll kind of jump into it. Treshaun Ward, I saw that a lot of people are running with and put the picture up of him on his Instagram checking in there. I was told, and Mike has now confirmed this, so I don't mind just kind of like putting it out there and talking about it. But I was told that the x-rays came back negative for him. So nothing broken as far as they're aware. Feel pretty good about that. Means it's not season ending. And I'm even a little bit surprised at the fact that it sounds like could potentially be back for Clemson. I'm mostly anticipating him being back after that. We'll see, though. If he was able to get back for Clemson, I think that'd be massive. Well, I'll share news and notes and thoughts on what I actually think our offense should do this weekend at a later time. I will talk about that as the week goes on. But I think getting him back for Clemson is pretty good. I think if you look at the stats between the first half and the second half, there was a clear drop-off when Ward wasn't in there. I thought he ran the ball really, really well. That's not to disparage any other running backs, but just he was on kind of a different level on Saturday night. In Raleigh, I think Clemson's run defense is even better. And so I think it's something that we need to monitor. But overall, good news with Treshaun Ward. Obviously, evaluating MRIs, evaluating where he is overall. But again, I feel really good about him and glad that honestly, both him and Leary, which prayers up to Devin Leary. Hopefully, he's able to get back as well. But I thought both of them would be out for the season, seeing their injuries, and you never want that. I feel somewhat optimistic about Robert Cooper. Talk about him for just a minute. Let me pause that by just saying I really, really liked the way that our defensive line played, even down several guys on Saturday. Having Verse back in there makes a huge, huge difference. And Florida State really did shut down that NC State attack. If not for some pretty rough calls that went against Florida State, and if not for just an atrocious penalty on a punt that really cost FSU 70 yards of field position, I mean, you probably hold NC State to 13 points, right? And I thought that the defense was really, really good. And we gave NC State the ball at the 20. We gave them the ball again on our side of the field with Jordan's first interception. I thought the defense did absolutely everything they could to give you a chance there. But going back to Robert Cooper, I'm somewhat optimistic on him. I don't have like a specific update if he'll be there or not be there this weekend, but I am fairly confident that you get him back somewhat soon. I think it's a good sign for Florida State that Fabo traveled last week. I'm still not super optimistic that he's back for the game this weekend, but I do think having a healthy-ish Fabo and Cooper down the stretch when your games do get considerably easier would be a really, really good sign for Florida State. And then the big one that I want to talk about, and then we'll give some shout outs and we'll get on here and talk a little bit about whatever you guys want to talk about. The big one for me is Jakai Douglas being added to the depth chart. I try not to read too much into Florida State's depth charts because, as you guys know, Fabian Lovett has been listed as a starter on the depth chart for weeks and hasn't been practicing. So I think you do have to kind of caution yourself, to not read so much into the depth chart of FSU, what they put out. But I will say that I think that Florida State doesn't just put guys on there that, like, they won't add a guy to the depth chart needlessly, right? I don't think you can read too much into Fabo being on there because he's been there for weeks, but I think you can read a little bit into Jakai being added. I don't think that you're going to get the explosive Jakai that you potentially would have gotten to start the season against Duquesne and LSU with him coming off the injury, but he is a guy that was consistently raved to me about through the offseason, and getting him back could be really, really big, especially a game, which I don't know that this is an overarching massive issue for Florida State, but especially after a game, I got spit up on me from my son. Very good. Especially after a game where Florida State did struggle with drops. I've been told that when Florida State was in Jacksonville, which is where he got injured, they were literally putting in like packages for just Jakai. Like, he was having that good of a fall. He was impressing that much. And so he could be a massive addition. How much he's able to come off of an injury and in 1 week's practice time make an impact in the Clemson game, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to go with a crazy prediction right now and tell you guys that Jakai Douglas is going to catch 3 touchdowns, right, against Clemson. What I do think is that getting him in and getting him some reps, whether he plays this weekend or not, but getting him more acclimated to practice, then having the bye week, and then being able to go up against defenses like Georgia Tech, Miami, even Syracuse to some extent, and Louisiana, and then Florida, right? Like, being able to go up against 5 defenses that I wouldn't consider super quality, he could have a really, really nice second half of the year. And so I think all kind of positive on the injury stuff. Gotten some questions on Winston Wright. I don't have a massive update there. I don't know that I would use the word setback by any means, but just not ready. Just the more he's out there and practicing, just not 100% ready to go. Had some people talking today, will we even get to see him at all? Will he be back next year? I would be pretty surprised if he was able to make that jump to the NFL without putting anything on film this year. But we'll see. That's ultimately not up to me, right? Like, we'll see what kind of grade he gets. I know that they're literally working on draft grades right now for some of these guys to talk about whether or not they'll come back. So I don't have anything new on the Winston Wright situation, but all in all, I think fairly positive. I'll say this and then give a couple shout outs and we'll get you guys on. Joshua, I see you. Jimmy, I see you. If you guys have any questions, hit my DMs, hit us on the YouTube chat. And, you can also request to speak at any point. But I think fairly positive, right? And I'll say this, like, nobody wants to go into this Clemson week and think that they're going to lose, right? We all want to win. And I'm not going to start the whole like, oh, well, you're probably going to lose anyway. But I don't know that the game so much I'm going to get this. This is going to get twisted coming out of my mouth. If you offered me right now a close loss to Clemson, and I hate to accept a loss early, right? Like, I'm not going down that road. But if you offered me a close loss to Clemson and then the team being fully healthy the rest of the way, I would take that trade without a doubt, right? Like, you're playing a top 5 team that you've struggled with for years. If you lose by 3 to Clemson, nobody's jumping off the skyway. Nobody's going crazy. Like, it's unfortunate. You had a chance if you lose close, but if you lose by 3 and then get fully healthy to play 5 teams that you should beat to finish up the year, I think I'd almost take that, right? Like I'd take that over, winning a close game and then 4 or 5 other guys get hurt, right? Now, obviously, I'd also take a 6-game winning streak to end the season. But I think Florida State's in a good enough position to continue to get healthy. Robert Scott coming back in and playing really, really well over this last weekend was huge for Florida State. I thought they were able to do more there. So I think we are getting healthy at the right time. I think that with the injuries that are still there, Fabo, not sure if Coop will be 100% this weekend. I do think this Clemson game is going to be extremely tough. I think their offense is a little bit better. I think DJ being mobile hurts you a little bit more. But Jared Verse being out there, the way that some of the young guys played, Farmer, different ones, I really liked the defense this weekend. I think you're playing a little bit better offense, a little of offense that's not so one-dimensional, an offense with better weapons. So it's going to be tough this weekend. But if Florida State, past this weekend, can be pretty healthy for that stretch run of those last 5 games, you can use that bye week, use some of your easier, air quotes, games down the stretch, I think they'll be in really, really good shape to have a nice finish to the year. By no means am I conceding the Clemson game. There's a reason that it's only a 4-point spread right now. There's a reason. Nobody thought the NC State spread was right, and then the Noles really, for all intent and purposes, should have won that game too. So interesting to see where it's at. Not conceding it, just saying it's going to be very, very tough for the Noles to win. But I think they're looking up. I think the trajectory of the team is still in a positive light. If they can be healthy going forward, I really like what this team's chances are. You do really need to stay healthy on that offensive line. I think that losing, Scott, either of or any of your 3 interior pieces would be massive. And then Washington as well. Yeah, Washington came in once for Jazz early. I didn't. I thought the play picked up a ton. That's not to disparage Jazz. Just was having a rough night, an off night. He's had a couple of rough games in a row. I thought Washington played way, way better. And so having those 5 guys makes everything kind of click a little bit more. I would expect the wide receivers play a little bit better this week. Had some good plays, but, a lot of bad on that unit as well. So we'll see. Let's give a quick shout out to thegramco.com. Gramco's out there with us this weekend at the tailgate. Listen, I can't guarantee shipping for your orders, but I will tell you probably need to work to get your orders in sooner rather than later if you're wanting to have your Gramco products arrive by the time that you're out at your different tailgates, whether you're an FSU fan or not. If you're tailgating this weekend, Gramco needs to be part of your game day routine. You can use code TJ25 to save 25% off your order. It's thegramco.com. I threw a tweet of theirs up in the top of the space. Appreciate them and their support. I'll get Joshua on right after this, but I also want to give a big, big shout out to Salomon Digital Marketing. Just saw that they inked a deal with AJ Duffy. They've worked with him in the past, but I know that he just put a tweet out this morning, and they've got some stuff going on and some stuff cooking. So do me a favor, go follow Salomon Digital Marketing, retweet that tweet of AJ Duffy's. Love the people in our fan base and in local businesses and national business and everything else that give back to our athletes through NIL. That's why I'm proud to work with Garnet and Gold, Gramco, and Salomon Digital Marketing. You guys go retweet that tweet of AJ Duffy's in the top of the space. Support the people that are giving back to our student athletes. All right, Joshua, my man, he's coming into town this weekend, ready for the game. When you get to town, bro?
I get in Friday morning at 9 a.m. So I'm taking a red eye from Vegas to Atlanta, then a quick little stopover, then Atlanta to Tally early in the morning.
I love it. I love it. Safe travels, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing – how am I doing? Oh, man, I didn't know how to answer that right now just because I'm still kind of – man, to me this one hurts worse than even Jacksonville State because in that game, there was no point I thought we were going to lose that game and was obviously shocked at the end. After halftime, my whole night was a tale of 2 halves where my lady got home at halftime. She sees how upbeat I am. Everything's going great. And then she's sitting on the couch watching the game. Around the third quarter, she takes the kid and goes upstairs because she sees it happening. So just watching it turn and watching this slowly melt down with besides the drops and other things, even Master Mono, which is I don't even know what to even think or say about that. But big ups the defense for holding the 3. But then, like, Gibbons getting a personal foul, like, guys have been, in college for 19 years doing that. It just was like, just watching it slip away and nothing we could do to grab a hold of it. It just, man, it stung. It stung like I haven't felt. Because, last couple of years, we win the games, we're like, all right, we're down by 20. It's the first quarter. I'm just going to be miserable, but I'm going to keep watching it, whatever. But watching this, being so excited, I jumped on Seymour's face for a couple minutes during halftime. Everybody was so excited, and just watching all that turn just kind of hurts different,
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm not willing to go as far as like it hurts worse than the Jacksonville State one. But I'm not going to disagree. Like, I'm not going to say that personally, but I get that like sentiment because it does just feel to me like the Jacksonville State game was different because this was like an opportunity that we blew to be better. But at the end of the day, like if I'd have offered you, like if I'd have offered you earlier in the year, and I think that's why it's always important to keep the perspective of if I'd have offered you earlier in the year a 2-point loss to NC State, like you're never going to like accept defeat, but you'd probably said like, oh, that means we're probably competing. Like we're probably at a better level than we're at. We're probably beating some of the other teams that aren't as good as NC State, right? And so not that you would have accepted a loss early in the year, but I think you have to like balance both, right? Like you have to balance like how frustrating that game is specifically because of your chances and what you had and where we are in general as a program to be able to kind of compete with teams like that. So, but I mean, I agree. It's absolutely, and that doesn't make the loss any more excusable. Like the loss is absolutely unacceptable, but I do think in the macro, you have to like kind of step back and look at it and just say like, okay, well, it's not to me. Yeah. After the Jacksonville State game, like I have not missed a week yet with Richie doing the podcast. I texted Richie and I was like, hey, I don't want to do it today. Like we still did it, but like I was able to get up for the NC State game. It sucked, but like that Jacksonville State one, like I wanted to cry on that one. So, but I get it. They're different feelings.
I'm kind of compartmentalizing, honestly, just because again, if you're told again the season to be 4-2 at this point, I'd be like, hey, I'm all in. I mean, we've seen what we've been recently. I'll take it all day. Selfishly for me, it's because I'm going for the Clemson game. So being 5-1 going to the Clemson game makes that game even bigger. So selfishly, that's also why I wanted to win, besides the obvious reason. But it was just watching it like kind of deteriorate, and you kind of feel it like slipping away. And no matter how much I drank, I couldn't get rid of that feeling. But then you just kind of know, like we had so much hope, right? Like I didn't even feel like the we're going to lose the LSU game. I was still like, we're going to win this. We're going to find a way to pull ahead. This is the first time this season where I was like watching it happen, go like, nah, there's no way. We're not going to do this. Like, and that was a feeling I haven't had this year. And I'm glad not to have it this year because I've had it in previous years and it kind of just came back. So that kind of sucked. But on to your boy, Richie, he's not going to be in town for the game for a bachelor party. What kind of blasphemy is that?
Dude, Richie doesn't come to town anyway. Like I don't mean to like put him on blast when he's in here. I'd rather do it behind his back. But like, I think Richie's been to Tallahassee like 2 times in the last 50 years or so since he graduated.
Okay.
So I don't know. Richie probably wasn't coming this weekend anyway. I'll give him a little pass.
Okay, so he was just basically just trying to just put it out there like he was gonna be there, but he had to do this other thing. I get it.
He probably wasn't coming. Not to put him on blast, but.
Well, I got one quick question for you with regards to, it's a statement and a question. One, big ups to Pat Payton. That kid has just gone leaps and bounds. I mean, he was didn't hear as much from the second half. The first half, he was everywhere, batting down passes, making tackles. With Verse getting a first-round grade, it looks like. Can't blame the kid if he goes pro. Go get your money, man. I get it. But having someone like Peyton right there really gives me a lot of encouragement because we never saw, some of the guys that we heard all preseason that were making the bigger steps. Like McClendon, he's done a little bit better. Briggs, really haven't heard much from him at all this season. So at least having Peyton there really gives me encouragement that if Briggs does go pro, we have some guys there that'll come in right into play. And then also super excited about having boots on campus next year as well.
Man, I like – Go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, with regards to that, who do we have on the other side that can kind of help fill that other part of the role too? Just because we've seen the difference in the defense when Verse is on the field, when he's not, or when we have one guy performing with the other side still kind of open.
Yeah, so I want to echo your thoughts on Pat Payton. I thought he was fantastic. I thought Leonard Warner played really well as well.
For sure. Yeah.
I thought he was really, really good. And so, like, I think if you can have some kind of rotation of, Verse, Warner, Peyton, with those young guys, Warner's not a young guy, but with those young guys, I know it's harder to expect them to do that consistently, like all game. Like you kind of expect Verse to be there making those plays, like literally playing and play out. So, I think that if you can get something out of, Briggs, who didn't have a great game, Warner, Peyton, you have Verse on the other side, I think you're in pretty good shape, right? Like, DMAC needs to play a little bit better. Needs to be more available and making bigger plays. But yeah, I don't know. You're leaning heavily on Verse, and with the middle of the line, which again I thought Farmer played really, really well too. Talking about the middle of the line,
bullshit call, by the way, which we all agree, right?
Oh, it was terrible. It was so bad. I thought the line play. I thought the defense in general played really, really well, and then I thought the line, the line played well for how many guys you had out. Cooper out, Lovett out. Hopefully you're a game or two away from getting both of those guys back, or maybe even if Cooper could go this weekend, we'll see. But it's just got to be a group effort, right? Like, what you're going to get out of Verse. Verse is going to go and, probably make an outstanding play or a spectacular play or two this weekend. But what can we do to kind of spread the love and not put it all on his shoulders like we did Jermaine's last year? We said that the D-line would be really, really good this year. I think they've been above average, and a lot of that has to do with Verse. And so, and unfortunately some of that is Fabo's injury, but I think the defensive line still needs to kind of step up. They've got a tough challenge this week. I think that, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't look great this weekend and look a ton better, the next 5 weeks. But, that's the challenge of playing really good teams.
Yeah, and I think also too. We know who killed us last year from the run game of Clemson. Clemson's running game has not been impressive this year, even against BC. They did most of their damage passing. So if we can kind of mitigate some of that and put it on DJ and hopefully get him to make mistakes, just hope, man. Let's just hope.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Hey, I want to give everybody time, but hey, anybody feel free to DM me some good spots in Tally to eat and of course drink. I'm taking my cousin and my nephew and my father. My cousin's never been to Florida, so I'm going to show him what it's really about. So anybody feel free to DM me, give me some recommendations. I really appreciate it. TJ, I will definitely see you at the tailgate. Looking forward to meeting some people in person and saying hello. And I got my right arm ready to chop as long and hard as possible and go Noles forever, man.
Go Noles, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, I will say this. I'll say this, and they'll run for 250 yards on us. But yeah, I don't worry as much about Clemson's running game. What does scare the crap out of me is how mobile DJ is, and I think that we struggle in that situation against mobile quarterbacks that can kind of move around. And you saw it on Saturday. Now, to give us a little bit of slack on Saturday, they clearly didn't prepare for a mobile quarterback, and I thought did fairly well against it. Right, that kid made a few plays, but I think they did pretty well, all things considered. He's obviously not the athlete that DJ is. And so that certainly concerns me more. The threat of DJ's legs certainly worries me because they do have talent out on the outside. And if we're playing back, it's kind of the Wake Forest thing. If you're playing back, do they kill you with the run? If you're playing up, are they able to kind of throw the ball wherever they want, like Hartman did? So, having a guy back there that's as athletic as he is, certainly isn't something that I'm looking forward to from a defensive perspective. But we'll see. I thought there were times we played Cunningham well. There were times that Cunningham absolutely crushed us. So, we'll kind of see what that looks like and what the Noles are able to do. Jimmy, let me add Jimmy here. As Jimmy's coming on, I want to give a quick shout out to Garnet and Gold. You guys love that Nike dry fit hoodie that Coach Norvell wears. Go get you one of those. If you use code SPACES15, you'll save 15% off at garnetandgold.com. Really, really good stuff there. Garnet and Gold gives back to our student athletes through NIL, through they also support our boosters. They do a ton with the Noles, both from a university perspective and a student athlete perspective. Go support garnetandgold.com. If you're traveling in for the game this weekend, I would suggest putting your order in today, tomorrow, Wednesday, so that you can get it and pick it up, and you don't have to pay for the shipping. You can do in-store pickup. Spaces 15 will save you 15%. You're going to go buy Garnet and Gold anyway, so put your order in now, save some money, pick it up on Saturday. Make sure you pick up from the Pensacola location. I mean, you can go to any of them, but I would say the Pensacola one is probably your most convenient on game day. Jimmy, what's going on, my man?
Hey, TJ, how's everything there?
I'm good.
Hey, fantastic. You tweeted out something a little bit earlier. It's analysis of the touchdown play to Pittman and the last play where NC State intercepted it, done by Mike Lennon, former NC State Wolfpack quarterback. I urge everyone to go ahead and look at that. That was an excellent analysis of that play, where it shows, it was a different coverage, and it almost seems like that they just expected, hey, it worked once from about the same position, and they were kind of surprised that NC State had adjusted to that play that had worked earlier.
Yeah, no, he does. I'll say this about Glennon, which I actually haven't even watched that yet. I just shared it because I know that Glennon does such a good job. He was on the podcast on Wednesday, helping us preview the show. So I just know he does such a good job. So I didn't even feel that I had to watch it before just sharing. So I'm glad to hear that it was good. I thought you were going to come on and complaining about it, to be honest with you. I was going to be like, oh crap, maybe I shouldn't have shared it. But yeah, so I've got a take on this. I talked about it yesterday on the podcast, but what was your take on the play there? What was your take on that?
We were watching the game, and as soon as he threw the pass long, I was like, wow. I had no problem with them throwing, but to me that pass almost looked like a Hail Mary type pass. Just throw it up in the air. And I was not for that now, and wasn't for it then, and I'm not for it now. There were other routes that I think could have, gained a couple of more yards. Even one of the NC State players referenced after the game that they knew that Florida State was not going to be playing for a field goal, that they knew that they had to protect the end zone, that, they were aware of our kicking woes, and that played into the coverages that they were running at that point. Most times I think, in that situation, most teams I think would be playing press coverage because you're at the 22, 23-yard line. You're within field goal range. At that point, you're just trying to improve your field goal range, and the coverages are more tight. In this thing, if you look at the play, if you look at the thing that Glennon showed, they were playing off. They were easily could have gotten a nice 5-yard hitch, 5-yard stop across the middle or something to get Fitzgerald into what for him would be a makeable field goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem with the call itself, right? And I didn't even have a problem with the fact that route was part of it, because you had success on it earlier in the year, and there were other options. Like, Johnny Wilson was running a slant. I went back and kind of watched it, and I was thinking about doing kind of a video on it, but I didn't think it was, the video would have been about 45 seconds to talk about. So I didn't do a full video on it, but I was kind of rewatching it and trying to look at it to break it down as well. And yeah, I just think there were other options. I couldn't tell who it was, but it looked like it was one of the tight ends that was also running like a 5-yard out on Jordan's left side, the same direction that he threw that pass to. I do think that defender had pretty good coverage there. And Jordan would have needed to lead him pretty well. But I think even that, like on 2nd and 8, would have gotten you like 6 yards. And if you fall forward, maybe you get the first down. If you get the first down there, you're on about the 16-yard line with maybe 30 seconds left, and you've got all 3 timeouts because it would have been a first down, and you could have either spiked it or used one of your timeouts, whichever way. So yeah, I didn't have a problem with that route, with Pittman's route being in it, because it did work last time. And I think kind of the thinking behind it is, if you have Pittman running that route, he's getting less attention than Wilson is, and you kind of expect Wilson to be the one that they're going to throw it up to for kind of a jump ball like that. And so I actually liked that being there, but I think Jordan never looked anywhere else. Like Jordan just kind of, and I hate to throw it all on him, right? But I think Jordan just kind of never went away from that. And had he looked anywhere else or taken off running or just throw the thing out of bounds, like to me, you can, in the first half, you can just throw that up and just kind of trust your guy to go up and make a play, which Pittman did in the first half, right? And that's totally fine. Because if you throw a pick in the first half, I mean, certainly you don't love that, but time and place, right? Like time and situation. You have to, at that point of the game, you have to be sure that you're sure that you're sure that you're sure that there is no chance that the defender can go up and get it. And I don't like, I mean, I don't even love the idea of throwing up a pass to Johnny Wilson there, like because of how far away it is. Like if you're inside the 10 and throwing a jump ball, I think that's a little bit of a different story. But I don't even love the idea of throwing that unless you are completely sure that it's going to be completed. And so again, not to throw it all on Jordan, you know, not trying to give him a hard time. I'm sure he knows, you know, the situation, but yeah, I think you got to go somewhere else with that throw. And I've got no problem with them going for the touchdown. I've got no problem with them trying to get the 7 in that situation. I just think you have to make a little bit smarter throw there, a little bit better read. You have to look at some other options and be a little bit better on that.
Yeah, well, one of the big things Glennon points out is, you know, and he does a great job, but that the coverages were different. On the first, on the touchdown to Pittman, they were in press coverage, and on the interception, they were off. So, you know, to say that, well, the play worked the first time, it's apples and oranges. It was two different coverages. But just got one quick question for you. I know back in the Jimbo days, they used to send you know, calls that they didn't think were correct to the ACC office. Do you know if they still do that? I watched your compilation of calls on your podcast. Can we send that to the ACC office and you know, see if we get any kind of response from them?
What's funny is I actually sent that to somebody. So anyway, so to answer your question, and thanks for watching the video, Mike said they did send at least 2 plays in, and then just kind of said like, hey, you know, we know what's going to happen. They're going to come back and say like, hey, you know, sorry about that. And that doesn't do a lot to help us on, you know, a Tuesday morning after, you know, the loss has already been recorded. But yeah, I mean, and that's the idea, right? Like, so I made that video and I actually did send it to somebody on, I'll say that's within the program, and said like, hey, can you just have them send this in and have the ACC watch this one? So that's hilarious that you said that. But yeah, I mean, I think what we do, and I said this in the video, and I won't kind of break it all down, but you guys can go to the YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can go to that video and watch it. It's a pretty good little breakdown of things that I think were pretty egregious, right? There were a couple of calls in there that I think were 50-50 that did go NC State's way, but I didn't try and like focus on the 50-50 stuff. I tried to look at the stuff that was really, really obvious that got missed. But yeah, I think that, I think there's got to be accountability, and there just isn't, right? There isn't with this conference. And I want to watch as many SEC games or, you know, Big Ten games to know if there is over there. But like, we have accountability for every single person in sports, right? If a quarterback throws too many interceptions, he gets benched. If a coach loses too many games, he gets fired. But if a ref blows 8 calls in a game, like there's no accountability there. Like the ACC is not suspending guys or fining guys or firing anybody. There's absolutely zero accountability. Even when the conference comes out and says like, yeah, we kind of missed this. We blew this call. We should have done a little bit better. There's absolutely zero accountability. And I've got people like Matt on the YouTube, like, oh, it's always the ref's fault for you. And I was just like, well, not really. Like, this is the first video I've ever made blaming the refs. And yesterday I did a 30-minute video on you know, blaming everybody else, Mike Norvell and, you know, the special teams and offense, you know, so it's not always the refs, but they played a critical part of the game. And so, yeah, I think there should be accountability, and it would be great if the ACC office could see that. But even if they do, like I said, they're not going to do anything. So whatever, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. I know under Jimbo, it seemed to be more talked about. I know that's probably not, you know, Norvell's personality. He doesn't seem to be as, you know, adversarial as maybe Jimbo was, but that's what I kind of figured, that, you know, they were still doing it, but it's kind of like, you know, like you throw your hands up in the air at this point and say, you know, it is what it is. Hey, appreciate you doing these spaces as always, and go Noles. Hopefully be able to run into you up in Tallahassee this weekend. Yeah,
man, my man. If you're if you got a place to tailgate, no worries. But if you need a place to tailgate, come hit us up, man.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, Jimbo's a little bit more of a whiner than Mike is. You can say whatever you want about Jimbo, better coach, whatever. Like obviously Jimbo has a better coaching resume than Mike Norvell, but he is also a much bigger whiner. So I'll say that. I don't think that's breaking any ground there. Again, shout out thegramco.com. You can go there and use code TJ25 to get all of your Delta 8 needs. Again, get your order in today so that you have it in time for tailgating this weekend. No matter who you're a fan of, whether you're going to be in Tallahassee or not, you need to make sure that you have your product and you have your Delta 8 goodies and gummies and candies covered and delivered to you before the weekend. Shout out Salomon Digital Marketing. I threw a tweet up from TJ Salomon in the top of the space. Their CEO, again, announced this morning that, or you saw the tweet from AJ this morning that they are working together. We've talked about that. We've confirmed that. He's done deals with Jordan Travis in the past and has more stuff coming. So shout out to TJ. If you follow him, if you do like a super follow on here, all of that goes back to NIL deals for our athletes. So certainly appreciate them. And again, garnetandgold.com. Again, y'all love that that Norvell hoodie. I guess that Norvell hoodie finally has its first loss. I think they were undefeated with that, but that's still a fire hoodie. So I'm saying bring it back out for the game this weekend, and let's see if we can get it back on the right track. A couple questions in the DMs, and I'll get you guys that are requested in and available to speak. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit the comments. Again, super chat. If you have anything that's really pressing that we definitely need to see. Weakness for Clemson on defense that we need to attack. If we play 4 quarters, how we did in the first half against NC State, what's the odds that we win? First question, I'm going to do them backwards. If we play 4 quarters like we did in the first half against NC State, then I do think the Noles win, right? I think Clemson is better than NC State, but yeah, I'll take the Noles to win, 75% of the time if they play the first 4 quarters like they did in the first half. I mean, that defense was flying around, playing really, really well. You had the one drive that NC State scored on. You had the creativity on a special teams call. Fitzgerald hit his long field goal. Yeah, the offense was clicking. The team was clicking in the first half. So yeah, if you give me that team for 4 quarters against Clemson, then yeah, I've got us winning 75 or 80% of the time, right? The only thing I think that beats you there is if Clemson plays their A game. What is the weakness on Clemson's defense that we need to attack? So Clemson's had some guys banged up in that secondary. It'll kind of time will tell as more and more time passes this week, who is going to be available for Clemson and who's going to be playing. Spoke with somebody, actually just kind of sent him a message this morning and tried to get a little bit of an update of how much of their secondary is back. They're missing Jones, Mickens, and Venables last Saturday. Green traveled but didn't play. They've got a lot of guys in that secondary that are banged up. And even if they are all back, or some of them are back, they are coming off of injury, right? Like it'd be like if we got Lovett back this weekend, right? How effective is he coming off of that injury? So I think it's the secondary, and I think that plays into exactly what Florida State needs to do. I don't think you're going to have a lot of success running the ball up against that Clemson front, right? And not that their secondary is terrible or anything, but you saw Wade have some success there. They've got some guys banged up. So we'll talk about that more in depth as we learn more about Clemson's secondary this week and who's back and who's practicing. But yeah, the secondary is absolutely where Florida State needs to attack. What will the success of that be? I don't know, right? Like I need guys to catch balls. I need Jordan to make better decisions. But yeah, if you're going to ask me what the Noles should do on offense, it should be the secondary. And I also think you need to run Travis. I mean, first game, he just ran over 100 yards. I really, really tried to harp on that last week and talk to you guys. I put out a video of literally, this is what the Noles need to do to have success and win. They didn't end up winning, but they had a lot of success by running Jordan Travis. And they ran him more on Saturday than they run him all year combined so far. So, yeah, I think that was – we asked Glennon about that specifically, and he said the same thing. Yeah, for Florida State to have success, his legs need to be part of the game. Did a good job running the ball. Obviously, the 70-yarder helps a ton, but I thought he did a really good job of getting down when he needed to, picking up 4 or 5 yards at times, keeping himself out of injury, getting out of bounds. People are worried about him running because it increases the chances of him getting injured. I don't know that I really buy that. I think that standing back there in the pocket with an offensive line that's not very good has just as high of a chance of of him getting injured. So I don't know. I think that Jordan is smart. He looked really good running the ball this weekend. NC State either wasn't prepared for it or was just caught off guard. And I think Clemson will be more prepared for it, but I still think it's an absolute weapon. Looked at times like some of our receivers were bunched up. Was there an issue with their route running? Again, the receivers just weren't very good on Saturday. I know that Pittman made a really, really nice play. But I think that, that they didn't look good at times. And I think that there were times that they could have been much, much better, not only from a drop perspective, but there were times where you'd have like 3 or 4 of them bunched up in one spot. And that just seemed weird. It just wasn't the same crispness. It wasn't the same effectiveness that you'd seen kind of all year from that group. And so you certainly, I haven't watched the game back well enough, and I honestly don't even know if I will now that it's, almost into Tuesday of Clemson week. But I don't know what was up with the route running. I don't know if somebody asked Mike that specifically, but there were way too many times on the Jordan, first interception. There were like 3 guys there on the on one of the drops that I think Wilson had on like a 7 or 8 yard out route. No. I'm sorry. That was kind of a seam. There were 3 receivers there. So that was really, really weird to see this weekend and something that we haven't really all year. I thought the wide receivers have been above average of strength for the Noles, and they were certainly not that on Saturday. So, all right, Josh, let's get you in. Then I'm gonna get Chad, and I'll get Jacob. We probably won't be on here too much longer. 45 minutes flies with you guys, but let's keep it going. What's up, Josh?
Hey, do you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going?
Horrible, freaking horrible, man. I tell you, I got a couple things to say. I'm gonna keep it. I'm not burboning it up right now. I'm just sitting here. I just woke up. I was working night shift last night. I live up here in Tennessee, and huge fan base of football up here. And I walked into work last night, and the first thing a dude looked at me and he goes, "Man, I'm sorry about your loss last night, brother." And
it was rough.
And it's just everybody that watched that game just saw how terrible it was from every aspect. It was like a death. And I've always had a easy time with when the last whistle blows, clock strikes 0, game's over, win or lose, my emotions are done, my night's over, whatever. It's on to the next one. I have not been able to shake this one. It was a horrible game, and I've got something I want to say about it. And I'm not going to go down the blame the refs path because I'm sure you beat that to death because if you were blind, is the only reason why you could not see how bad that was. I'm not going to blame Norvell because you go down with play calls. It is what it is. Run every play, every first down, throw every second down in a panic, it felt like. And then the personnel. I love Mike Pittman. He's a great receiver, and I'm glad we have him. But why the hell we don't face the 5'11" guy when we got a 6'7" guy? I don't know. Maybe someone knows better than I do. I can blame the receivers for all their drops, and that was pretty bad. We can blame Fitzgerald for us having to play the game around the fact that he can't kick in a game. Thankfully, he got one. Good for him. That's not where I'm going. I'm hoping I've got a whole different idea for you and for everybody else to contemplate. Every game this year, and yesterday was one of the worst ones, I'm watching these on my TV, and I see the receivers, the running backs, and Jordan getting caught from behind after breaking big runs or making big catches. I swear to God, these guys look like they're running with concrete in their shoes. I've never seen Florida State so slow in space. They are the slowest special skill players I've ever seen. Trayshawn Ward is getting caught behind. Trey Benson got caught behind. He actually got caught from behind twice on that kick return. He just was strong enough to run through it. Are our guys slow, or am I crazy?
I don't think you're necessarily wrong there. I think that some of the guys you're mentioning have different skill sets and they're not like absolute burners. Trayshawn Ward's not the fastest guy in the world. Johnny Wilson, certainly isn't a speedster. But I don't think it's you've got guys with different strengths. Jordan Travis outran almost their entire defense, so you've got guys that have quickness. Winston Wright's a guy as well that I think had he been there, it's pretty quick. Jakai Douglas caught the long one against Notre Dame last year. He's not getting caught by very many people. I mean, you've got some guys injured and banged up, but I don't know that I'd call that like an entire team issue, but I get what you're saying.
I feel like J-Trav gave up on that run. I mean, I don't know if it was in the game. I don't know if he was tired or if it's just his attitude. A lot of people on the 247 board are kind of feeling like J-Trav's not in his right mindset. Kind of looked like in that play that he was comfortable with going out of bounds instead of getting past one more guy with his speed. And that maybe his knees hurt or something. But it's not just that. The speed thing, I feel like, and you mentioned a couple guys who haven't played this season who are really fast. But Span's extremely fast. Hit him in a play like that where he has an opportunity to break loose. He hasn't yet the chance to show his speed this year. That's the personnel thing I'm talking about. I understand he's not, still got a long ways to go to get his to where he needs to be as a receiver, but you can scheme open some plays for a young man like that to show his speed talent sometimes. Give him a shot here and there. But here's another thing is, am I wrong? Am I crazy? Do you feel like these running backs are running into tackles? I mean, I think it was Total Philly last night or the other night that he could have ran around Gibbons and had a long run down the sideline, but he turned right into a blocker. He doesn't run around use his linemen who are out in space, or his tight ends who are out in space, or even receivers, to create lanes instead of running right into a damn linebacker or defensive lineman. They could easy. And I just feel like their field vision is trash. And like, who's teaching these guys to look downfield and look ahead for an opportunity?
Yeah, I think there was a clear drop off with Ward out. And I like Toa Philly. He had a nice run on the touchdown. I think Benson's done some nice things this year. But yeah, I think that you could clearly see that the running game was different without Ward in there. So, Josh, you coming down to any games this year?
We are leaving tonight for Tallahassee.
Cool.
Actually, I'm sorry, for Pensacola, and then we're going to drive over for the game on the morning of. So we're definitely going to be there this weekend. So hopefully we'll have the opportunity to run by your tailgate and introduce ourselves for the first time.
Hit me up, man. Let's do it.
All right, brother. We'll see you there.
Thank you, buddy. At the end of the day, the roster makeup is the roster makeup, right? Like there's there's not a lot that you could do about that from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, you hate seeing guys get caught. Let's see. Chad. Let's get Chad on here. Sheesh, I can't push the right button. Yeah, people on YouTube asking about how to get on. Again, if you it's all through the Twitter Spaces. There's not really a super convenient way to add folks on YouTube. So yeah, if you go to Twitter, make an account, you can request to speak through Twitter Spaces. You have to do it through the app. Can't do it through like a mobile website or the desktop. But any kind of mobile app or whatever, whether you have an iPhone, Android, whatever, works well. If you have any takes that you definitely want to get off, I don't always see all the YouTube comments, but I do get an alert if there's a super chat. That's a good question, Jamal. I might get to that. The answer is a lot, and I don't think it's reasonable or realistic. But Chad, what's going on?
Nothing, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's honestly a follow-up from the discussion that was just going on. I think one of the things I saw in the beginning was that really Ward was the only one having significant success in the running game. And I think after he went out, even as the rotation took place, you saw more and more Jordan continue to hand the ball off and us get stuffed in at the line. And so I just wonder, there's a lot of blame going around, but the reality is that sometimes the dudes just don't have it to run away with the game, right? That's my biggest take. We don't have it to run away with the game, and so then we live on the margins there. And it just looks like another game that is on the margins, couldn't execute exactly how we should have executed, and we saw the result. I think the season obviously we had tons of expectations, and then we're landing at 4-2, and it kind of is what we all thought it was going to be, maybe in different ways. But excited to see the Clemson game. Think there's still an opportunity, but would like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that some of the success early in the year has had fans change what their overall expectations are. I think that with anything in life, as you learn more about a team, as you learn more about players, and they exceed your expectations early, you kind of expect them to continue exceeding your expectations, and you expect them to continue swinging above their weight class, right? And we're finding more and more out about every single team. Louisville maybe just wasn't that good. LSU I think is a good team. They obviously got blasted this weekend by Tennessee, but I expect them to bounce back and play well against Florida this weekend. So I think there's the aspect of remembering what your original expectations were for a team, and kind of, okay, well, I defined success this year by going 7-5 and winning a bowl to get to 8, or going 8-4, and then maybe you drop your bowl to get, still to that 8-5 number. And we're still on pace to do that, right? You're halfway through the year, 4-2. You probably, I hate to be negative, but you probably lose this game this weekend, and you probably beat Georgia Tech and Louisiana. So there's 2 wins there. Can you go 2-1 in your last 3 and get to the 8-4 that you wanted, right? Now, it does really sting when you have a loss like Saturday that you absolutely should have won. But if you had dropped the LSU game because they make that field goal, or if you had dropped the Louisville game on the road because your backup can't get it done, we're quick to say, oh my gosh, we got beat by a backup, which we certainly didn't. The defense was not at fault for the loss at all on Saturday. But, we're quick to say, oh, we lost to a backup, and then forget that we kind of stole one on the road with a backup, And so, that's just football, right? It's frustrating when it's your team and you had a chance to win. But yeah, I certainly haven't soured on this team or think that, oh man, like what in the world are we doing? Because we had a bad loss. I think Louisville fans would probably tell you that was a bad loss when they lost to us, and they should have beaten a backup. And so, yeah, I think that you can adjust a little bit. I still think I feel pretty good about this team going 8-4, right? I think that in those 3 games, Florida, Miami, and Syracuse, I think they find a way to go 2-1. I think that NC State's much better than all those teams. I think that Wake's much better than all those teams. Obviously, I think Clemson's much better than all those teams. I think Florida's kind of on par with LSU. I think Miami is actually figuring some stuff out, even though they lost to UNC. But I think that's a game that Florida State should go in and win. But if you can find a way to go 2-1 in those 3 coin flips, let's call them 3 coin flips, then you're at 8-4, and you probably did a little bit better than was expected. So you had a massive opportunity to put yourself further ahead of schedule, right? If you'd have won that game, we probably all are predicting 9-3 at this point. But you have also got an opportunity this weekend. You're not like, this is not like a Clemson game of a couple of years ago where you're a 28-point dog, right? Remember the one we had to cancel due to COVID? Like, we were 28-point dogs in that game, right? 28, 24, something like that. This is a 4-point spread, right? You can go out and upset Clemson. It's not going to be easy by any means. But you can go out and do this. And so, yeah, you blew one last week, go steal one this week, and we are all predicting 9-3. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts? What do you have us finishing the year at, Chad? I don't know if that answered the question or not, but that's just what I was thinking.
No. I'm at 8-4, and the reason I'm probably at 8-5, and the biggest reason is because I think Ward's not coming back for the year, and I think he's a major part of this offense. And Clemson, I think, from my perspective, is probably a loss. I'd love to see a win. And then I think you struggle running the ball versus Florida if Ward doesn't play. And then Syracuse is a tough defense to run on as well. So, I'm at 8-4. But I could see the team turning around and getting to 9-3 easily. I'm kind of smack dab at 8-4, but
yeah, I think to do that, you've either got to upset Clemson or go on a 5-0 streak to end the year. I would take either one of those, right? Like, I would take either one of those scenarios. Shoot, give me a 6-0. I think we will learn a lot about Syracuse over these next few weeks. They do get to take on NC State without Leary this weekend, but then they got to travel to Clemson. Then they got to play Notre Dame, who's looking a little bit better, beat a ranked BYU team. Then they got to travel to Syracuse, all before playing us. So I do think we'll learn a lot about Syracuse. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but like, I don't know what their impressive win is, right? Louisville is crap. They beat Connecticut. They beat Purdue in a wild, fun game, but Purdue's not good. They beat a bad Virginia team just barely, and then they blew out Wagner, right? Like, so I think we'll find out more over these next 4 weeks about Syracuse than we have over the first 5, right? They have no impressive wins to me. Now, they do have 5 wins, but they haven't played Wake, and they haven't played NC State, and they haven't played Clemson. And again, they got to go to Pittsburgh and play Notre Dame. So they could be riding they may beat NC State, without their quarterback. We'll see if Leary's back or not. But I don't know. The Syracuse game to me is just like Florida, right? Like, it's a coin flip at this point. But if they lose like 3 of the next 4, I'm probably going to like FSU in that stretch. Again, I don't think that, Syracuse has done anything that's impressed me just yet, right? Now 5-0 is 5-0. So, I don't mean to take too much away from them, but that game doesn't worry me as much as I originally kind of thought it did. Now that you kind of see how bad Louisville is, how bad Virginia is, Purdue stinks. So we'll see. Chad, I appreciate you, my man.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
I think the Miami game, as much as crap as I talked about Miami, I think the Miami game worries me a little bit more than Syracuse does. I think their offense is starting to figure some stuff out. Van Dyke looked a lot better this week. Their defense just stinks. So I think Jordan can have a really good game against them. But Miami's actually worrying me a little bit more than they were 2 weeks ago. Again, their defense is really, really bad. So we'll see. All right, let's get 2 more callers in here, and we'll get off for the day. Jacob, and then I'll get John on, and we will call it a day. Thank you guys again for hanging out. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Hit the share button if you appreciate this, whether you're on Spaces or YouTube. The share button is your friend. So, Jacob, what's going on, man?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing good. No complaints.
Yeah. I don't get too upset about losses this season, just because it was always the building forward to the future year. So I'm going to wait till the end of the year, see the full picture before I lose my mind.
I like it.
But my question is, and this is where I have concern about Mike moving forward, it just doesn't feel like he always does a great job with in-game adjustments. I feel like against Wake Forest, we had that great first drive, which was basically a scripted drive. And then we just went so static for so long in that game. And then in the second half against NC State, we just didn't do anything. And it felt like, it just feels like sometimes we just hit a wall as a team, and that's when we need the coach to make adjustments, and he just doesn't seem to come through for those.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong there. So to talk about the Wake game specifically in the first half, and I do think there's a lot of the blame on Saturday night does go to Mike Norvell. I'll say that and feel fairly confident in saying it. I think that when you look at that Wake game, our offensive line being pretty decimated to me was almost a bigger issue than play calling in that first half. You score on the scripted drive, you come out with a 3 and out. On the third drive, you get to the 50 and just kind of stall out, and then on the next drive you fumble, right? So I'm not putting the fumble on Mike. And then on that last drive, you drive all the way down and miss a field goal, right? So you had 63 yards. And in the second half, you drove really well as well. 85-yard drive, 58-yard drive, 38-yard drive. Like, you drove really, really well. So I don't know. To me, the Wake story was, close but no cigar. And I really do attribute a lot of that to the offensive line. But I agree with you on the NC State stuff. I thought that the way that we continued to go back to the running game, and shout out all the NC State fans that are in here hanging out and on the YouTube. They're mad at me for the ref video this morning. Again, I tried to open that up and say, like, hey, I know that this is, somewhat considered disrespectful to your opponent when you lose, but they're still, pretty mad online about it. But yeah, I blamed no, you're fine. I blamed the team for 30 minutes, and then I took 5 minutes and blamed the refs. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
We need a count for, you know how baseball has when anytime a ref misses any call, there's just that Twitter account that
Like an ACC one. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I need one of those.
Take that back real quick so nobody else hears it and does it first. We could make a lot of money on that.
Somebody else can steal it.
NC State, when you look at that game, I think you're right. I think there were a lot of calls that, so I didn't love the consistent in the second half, every first and second down. I mean, it was run, pass, punt. Like, it was so bad. And I thought that Mike coached the game, and other people have said this too. This is not me like coming up with something crazy. Other people have said like it seemed like he played to not lose the game as opposed to playing to win it, right? I think that we were getting nothing going with that run game up the middle, and man, it was terrible, right? To Mike's credit, we had 3 drives in the in the second half that resulted in punts. 2 of those came because of drops on third down, and one of them came because you had a captain make a terrible 15-yard penalty. And so, and that's where I think Mike is, people get mad at you on Twitter if you don't like go all the way one way or the other, right? Like, I don't know why we can't get to a point as a fan base where we say like, hey, yeah, Mike made some mistakes, but like, so did the team, right? Mike didn't make players drop the ball on third down. Mike didn't make, Dylan Gibbons put himself in a position. I know that there's, dispute. Oh, was he pulled down? Was he not pulled? Whatever. Like, Mike didn't have Dylan blocking 7 yards down the field on one of his 2-yard rushes. So I think that you have to balance all of those things, and right? Like, how do the drives work out differently if you're not dropping the ball on third down, right? And how do the drives work out differently if you're not taking a 15-yard penalty on 2nd and 2? And so, yeah, I think that, there is definitely room for improvement with Norvell there. I don't think he's been a great adjustment type coach. I don't think he did a phenomenal job with the game on Saturday. I thought it could have been much, much better. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement with the team and the players and execution as well.
Yeah, I think it is funny, though, when we get on Twitter and try and fire the coach and everything, because I find it impossible to actually evaluate a coach versus the players executing. And, like, last season, for example, Michigan State thought Mel Tucker was the genius. This year, they're already calling for him to be fired because it turns out he just gave the ball to Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that what people, I mean, it's like anything in your life, right? Like, you could do 10 great things, and I'm not even saying that this was the ratio, but you could do 10 great things, and if you do one bad thing in life, like, everybody's going to come and try and cancel you. And I think that is somewhat what you see with coaches too. Like, nobody remembers the free 3 points that Mike got us by drawing up that special teams kind of fake thing and then trusting Fitzgerald to go out there and get us 3 points. Nobody talks about how the fact that we don't score at least one of those touchdowns without Jordan's legs, right? And the fact that he did have more faith and had more designed Travis runs and things like that. And so nobody remembers the throw to Pittman, which did work the first time, right? Like, they only remember the fact that it failed the second time. Nobody remembers I think we had 2 20+ yard passes to Wilson. Nobody remembers those, right? Like, nobody remembers the good things that a coach, whether it be Norvell or anybody else, nobody remembers any of that, right? Like, they just remember when you screwed up. And so, yeah, I think that's just human nature, and all that said, I think Norvell had a few things that he screwed up this game. Like, I have no problem admitting that there's places that he can be better, but to fire a guy over there. I mean, Norvell didn't make Mastromato run 5 yards in front of the line and then punt the ball. Like, come on.
I mean, we live in such a reactionary culture anyways, and it's specifically heightened in, like, a college football fan base. So it feels weird when you try and criticize Mike for, like, valid things, but at the same time, you can also acknowledge he can improve as the coach. He is a younger guy. Like, he's allowed to get better. He's allowed to fix his mistakes and have that opportunity. But, like, he didn't start beating teams that are on par with us versus just beating up on teams that are seemingly worse than us. With the outlier of, like, when we beat UNC and maybe this year LSU, depending on how the rest of this year goes. But,
yeah, and I think, this
interesting for me.
Yeah, this week is, I mean, as long as you don't go get blown out, this week is kind of gravy, right? Like, if you upset Clemson everybody's riding high. If you lose close to Clemson, that's what everybody kind of expected anyway. But the proof is going to be in the pudding on those last 5 games, right? You should win. To me, you can't. You got to win at least one of the coin flips, right, to get to 7-5. And if you can win 2 of them, then you finish at 8-4, and you feel really, really good. So, yeah, I think that it's kind of what, again, you upset this weekend, feel great, but it's really what the team does over the last 5 games.
Yeah, and too, I feel like this team has shown like lack of toughness in some scenarios throughout the season, just like in the second half, where it feels like we're just getting beat up, and that's when we become undisciplined instead of fighting back. So, like, coming into this Clemson game, it'll be nice to see if they can refocus, get back to the confident team they were heading into the Wake game, and actually like play a really physical football game, because Clemson's a tough team.
Yeah. No, I agree. To me, I want to be healthy coming out of this game, and if we can steal a win, then I'll be thrilled. So thank you, Jacob, for coming on, my man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, let's get John on here, and then we will wrap up. John, you ever try the Gramco, John? Your profile picture tells me that I feel like you'd be a good Gramco customer. I think that's what I'm seeing in that picture. Am I seeing that wrong? John, I think you're on mute.
Nah, you got it right, buddy.
All right, my man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. I've shaken off this loss. There's some people in here that haven't shaken off the loss yet. I've shaken it off, man.
Man, look, I shook it off that night, man. For real. I mean, look, TJ, look, man. Hey, look, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You know what I'm saying? My thing is, I just hate the fact that, everybody automatically wants to pick this person or that person to say the reason that you lost. It's a team game.
For sure.
If you look at every aspect of that game, you can pick out from special teams, offense, defense, whatever, where somebody made a critical mistake. That's a team loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just it. You know what I mean? It was a team loss. You played good in the first half. You came out in the second half, and you played flat. You know what I mean? They came out in the second half. They were at home. They rode the momentum from their first drive, and their crowd got back into it. At that point, you never made a big enough play to shut their crowd up. And they went on and got hyped, and they just played better than you did down the stretch. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, hey, we all know anybody with, just a little bit of football sense can say that, you know what I'm saying? And I said this, and because we tweeted earlier about it. You should have had, regardless of where you were going to throw, it should have been the Johnny Wilson, because that's your guy. He's 6'7". There's nobody that can match up on him. That's just a given.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. If you're going to throw a jump ball, I honestly don't even like throwing a jump ball to him there. As said earlier, like I like taking the 5-6 yards and continuing to make sure that you're sure about it. But yeah, if you're going to throw a jump ball, would certainly prefer it to be to your guy that nobody else can even get close to.
I mean, because to me, you said yourself, that's what you brought him here for, right?
Yeah.
Win the 50-50s. He's 6'7", 235. You know what I'm saying? And he's proven to me, in my eyes anyway, I think he's proven up to this point that he can at least make that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Consistently. If he doesn't, coming across the middle, it's suspect. You know what I'm saying? But, we talk about that 50-50. Hey, that's him. That's what he does. He's good at that.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And I, that's something since earlier in the season I've been saying this. I don't understand it, why when you get within that 15 to 20, if you've got 4 downs, at least one of them should be a jump ball to him. I don't care, you know what I'm saying, unless they just triple covering him. Man, look, throw it up to him, dude. He's 6'7", and he can jump out the gym. It's not like he's 6'7" and unathletic. You know what I mean? We talking about 6'7" and athletic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You give him a shot down there, and I guarantee you're going to come up with at least a 50% chance of you're going to get this either a touchdown or a PI, you know what I mean? Or it's just incomplete, and you can live with that. But at least give him a chance.
Yeah, frustrating to see. I'm pulling it up right now, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching it one more time. Yeah, honestly, if sheesh, I'm going to drive myself crazy watching that. They wanted if you go back and watch that, if they'd have back shouldered that thing,
yeah,
he was playing the other side. And I honestly, the way that Pittman stopped, I also think that, and I've seen people mention this. I don't know, I don't think I'm breaking any ground here because, again, I think people have mentioned it, but it looked like there was definitely a miscommunication. Like he stopped on the – I don't know if he felt like he was going to break inside. And so I think that had something to do with it. If Pittman and him are on the same page, he probably at least knocks it away, right? Like, and so, but if he'd have back shouldered that, or man, if he'd have thrown it short and had Pittman come back to it, I'd be probably first and goal on the 5. You know, I'm driving myself crazy watching it.
TJ, you say you got it pulled up, right? Like I said, just take a look at, even if you say, okay, look, regardless of what they're doing, put Johnny in that spot. Look at where that ball is still placed. With Johnny's catch radius, I still say that would have been a touchdown because he would have mossed your boy. He would have mossed your boy. I'm telling you, that would have still been a touchdown with his catch radius, his ability to lay out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and he had the position, like the defender was behind him.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? That was my only gripe. Like I said, look, you win as a team, you lose as a team. It was a team loss because, like I said, there was things that, went on that everybody did wrong. But you could have salvaged it with that one play. Just, bottom line, you could have salvaged it all with that one play. If you make that, you know what? If you make that, are we all screaming anything today? No, everybody's talking about, we 5-1. So, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I still love them. I picked 9-3 at the beginning of the season, and I'm still sticking with it. I still think they can go 9-3.
I like it. Let's get after it. But you're spot on. Norvell could have been better. Special teams could have been better. Offense could have been better. I will tell you that the bright spot was probably defense. So I have a hard time giving them too much. I mean, NC State had one really good drive, and it was to open up the half. But I mean, the other team's going to make adjustments. Like they're Division I athletes too. They're ranked top 15 for a reason.
On top of that, you know what I'm saying? You got to remember, none of us had seen that kid before.
Yeah.
None of us. Nobody knew what he could do. You know what I'm saying? You didn't know whether he could throw, whether he could run. I mean, I didn't even know he was on the team, to be honest with you, as the backup quarterback for them. I mean, it wasn't like we knew who this kid was. So, you had to give them time to adjust to him, just, to see what he could do. But I tell you what, I love the defense for the simple fact of I love how many young guys are starting to step up that people aren't even paying attention to. Like Josh Farmer and Patrick Payton are beasting right now.
Yeah. The future of this defensive line, especially if they can, I know Falk's visiting somewhere else this weekend, so we'll see on that. But especially if we can get some of these commits in, some of these recruits that, Boots, and I think you need to do everything you can to hold on to Falk. If you can get these guys in and get them to sign, the future of this defensive line is just going to continue to go up and up and up.
Yeah.
And
it is, buddy.
I'm already looking around the country to see which all-star defensive end wants to come here and go first round next year. So who wants to come follow the trend? I'm seeing what I want. I appreciate you, John.
Hey, you too, buddy. Take it easy. I'll tweet you later on.
Thanks, my man.
All right, bro.
Yeah. Transfer portal, defensive end, first round you. We need to come up with something a little bit quicker and more witty than that, but I'm already seeing who I want. All right. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. We are going to give away some Clemson tickets this week. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, I haven't announced exactly how we're giving them away yet, but I've got 2 tickets to the Clemson game that somebody's going to win. They're good seats. They're my personal seats. Again, probably never going to sit in my own seats. But got 2 tickets to the Clemson game. Excited to give those away. We'll do that later in the week. It's not going to be like Friday, I don't think. I think we'll do it before then so you have time to make plans and get to Tallahassee if you can. But do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube so you don't miss the opportunity and the announcement when we do give those away. Do me a favor if you're here on Twitter, go subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you're following here on Twitter so that you see the announcement and know when we give those tickets away. Oh, we got Alan real quick. Alan's coming in. Alan is always welcome here. Let's get Alan on, and then we'll go home. This was an hour and 15-minute space. It was supposed to be half an hour today. So here we are. Alan, what's going on, my man?
What's up, dude?
How are you?
Good, man. We just got through working for the day. Checked in the motel, Fort Lauderdale.
How? When are you heading up?
We go up on Friday morning. We leave usually about 8 o'clock, 8:30. We get up there around noon. We get in the motorhome lot on noon on Fridays.
What are you doing down in Fort Lauderdale?
We had to finish up a little job last week. I had to go dig a little bit of dirt tomorrow in this neighborhood where the houses sell for like $15 million.
Woo.
I'll post a picture of one of the boats I took. I'll put it on Twitter. This thing's about 60, 70 foot long behind the house.
So you're in Richie's neighborhood, it sounds like.
Out of my price range, but it's pretty sporty. I'll tell you that now.
How you feeling?
I'm good, man. You know, the game is really. I don't mind losing. We lost like Wake Forest, fair and square. I got that. Let's move on. But what happened Saturday? We beat ourselves. I mean, if we got a kicker, he's half-assed, got any confidence in, you kick the field goal and win the game and go home. It was just pitiful, I thought, trying to throw that ball. And if you throw the ball, throw it to Johnny Wilson. The guy's 18 foot tall.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I think that, I don't love the fact that pass was made. I don't have a problem trying to go and get 7. I just don't love the pass being made there in that situation. You've got to be sure that it's going to be a completion. You can't take a chance on that.
Run the damn thing up the gut a couple more times. 8-10 seconds left on the clock. Kick the field goal. If you miss it, okay, we lose. We lost anyway.
Yeah, I would have loved the way they were spread out there was 5 wide. I'd have loved if Jordan just spread them out and took off for 7, 8, 10 yards. Who knows? Maybe gets in the end zone. But yeah, I'd have loved to try this run, but I guess shoulda, woulda, coulda at this point, huh?
And the punter, did he move in with Mastromanno? He don't know what the hell he's doing.
Oh man, you get Fitzgerald to make a long field goal, and then you have your punter doing something like that. Man, we're cursed, I think.
I mean, it's easy to watch it on TV, but hell, he could have run for the first down.
Yeah, I honestly, a lot of people said that and pointed out. I honestly almost would have preferred the punt. Like that punt rolled down inside their 20. It was a 70-yard difference. And so you get the first down. Maybe you end up driving the ball down the field, but we didn't look very good driving the ball down the field anyway. So I'd almost rather just have the punt. But yeah, I agree. Could have run it.
We've been losing a lot lately. Like I said, I've been going up there 28, 29 years. And I hate to get used to the losing thing. I'm kind of used to it. I expect to lose sometimes, but that hurt. That would hurt more. The guy really get blown out 30-0 than shit in my pants and cost myself the game.
Yeah, if you lose just because you're playing a better team, that's usually fine. When you beat yourself, that's when it hurts more, right? What do you think about this weekend?
I actually think they're going to come out and play. I don't think we'll win the game. I think they'll keep it respectable, keep it close. I think that we might have the lead maybe a few times in the game. I think they're going to play hard. I think Mike. They don't quit on Mike, and he gets them up to play, but we just down a lot of guys, too. I mean, they could get my old ass and yours up to play. I don't mean we're going to do very well.
Yeah.
It's just the dudes we got to put out there right now ain't our studs, and that's football.
Yeah, if Cooper's not back, I don't think Fable will be back. I think it's going to be tough. Oh, Verse should be here. I think Verse is fine.
Yeah. But he's 100%, though. That's the thing, too.
Yeah, but even 80% of him is pretty special.
It's better than 150% of somebody else. But, I want to see my man. One game this year, Sam McCall. I want to see him play.
I think as you get into this back half of the schedule, you may see him a little bit more. Same thing with Thomas, but yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be really, really tough this weekend. I do think the team responds really well. People were worried about this team coming out and responding against North Carolina State. Hey, I think there are positives to take away from the North Carolina State game. More negative because you lost, but man, people were saying, oh, this team's going to quit after losing to Wake Forest and having their first loss of the year. I don't know where that was coming from. Like the team, if they've showed you anything over the last couple of years, I mean, they're going to fight and they're going to play hard and they may shoot themselves in the foot 15 times, but they're not going to, so I think they'll be right in this game this weekend. I think Clemson's
we let West Palm come down to Lauderdale. We drove down 95. I told my son, I said, Google FAU's record 2-4. So everybody wants to claim that they missed Willie with 2-4 at FAU.
Sheesh.
Or FIU, whatever U it is.
Yeah. So the team will respond. They'll play really well. We'll put themselves in position and we'll see if they can get it done. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend, my man.
Yeah, we got to hook up. I'll get you those seats. You guys come up and hang with us.
Yes, sir. We'll do, my man.
All right, buddy. You got to take care and go Noles.
Thanks, buddy. Go Noles. Good stuff today. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Think we'll see Winston Wright this weekend. I would be a little surprised if you saw Winston Wright. I think the fact that, you saw Jakai added to the depth chart and you didn't see Wright added to the depth chart, probably says a lot. Better chance of seeing Douglas. Winston Wright after the bye week, we'll see. We'll see what things look like. Guys, thank you a ton for hanging out. We had a lot of people over live on the YouTube today. That's a lot of fun. Again, giving away some Clemson tickets at some point this week. So I got 2 Clemson tickets, home side, 30-yard line. About 30 rows up. So maybe 20-yard line, about 30 rows up. So pretty good seats. Should be a lot of fun in Dill Campbell this weekend. So make sure you're following. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. It's in the top of my of my page, I believe, under my bio. So go subscribe there. Make sure you don't miss out on those tickets. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles. If you're here on the YouTube, really do appreciate you for tuning in this week. Deuce Spann, I think he's fine. I just think that is, I think that other guys have kind of practiced and played their ways in front of him. Also had a question on how much would it cost to bring Verse back? The lowest paid first rounder last year made $8 million. Or it's an $8 million contract, a little over $2 million a year. So yeah, right. Rising Spear, they're not paying anybody over, $8 million. So yeah, if he's getting a first round grade, he's out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, giving out Clemson tickets at some point this week, maybe Wednesday night on our preview show. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on those Clemson tickets. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Go Noles.